Good morning, everyone. Here they're giving out free heart scans. Free heart scans, right there. No local establishment here doing that. Free heart scans. It's the gospel of Jesus Christ. From the fullness of the heart, the mouth speaks. You want to know how your heart's doing? Then listen to yourself and what kind of speech is coming out. Let's talk about that in just a little bit. Very important to review last week. Last week, we heard one of those phrases that almost everybody in the world has heard. Okay, whether they're Christian or not Christian, they know that Christians are supposed to be people who will turn the other cheek. Yes, turn the other cheek, which means that we are to be doormats for all people, right? So people are supposed to be able to wipe their feet on us, and then we don't do anything, right? We're pacifists. No, that's not what it means, okay? The reality is we got to think clearly, judge rightly, act decisively. Sometimes we're thinking clearly, judging rightly, acting decisively. We're wise when we run. Okay, we look at the situation. It's not a good situation. Time to be quiet. Time to get out of there. Okay, sometimes we run. Sometimes we fight. We have to fight. Okay, it's the wise thing to do. Most of the time, when that is the case, it's not a physical confrontation, hopefully. There, we're more talking about our police officers who protect us, the military, other types of things. So for the most part, but when we fight, it's always in defense. Okay? But there are times where we have to fight. A lot of times, it's conversations, it's arguments. And there is a time to fight. All right. Now, a lot of the times, maybe even most of the time, God is calling us not to run, not to fight, but to stand our ground and act in such a way, so wise, so loving, so charitable, that it brings the person to a whole nother spiritual level, to a whole nother level of understanding. The example that I gave to you was the Mother Teresa example. So somebody, she approaches this baker. The baker says, no, I'm not really going to help you. He goes, well, I need food for the children. What will you give to the children? And he just spit in her face. Now, Mother Teresa, I didn't have a chance to get to know her personally, but I have had a lot of interaction with her sisters, and with all of the mothers that are in charge of it. They are tenacious people, very humble as well, but extremely intelligent, and they certainly have a will about them. She could have wiped the floor with this guy intellectually. She could have ran. She could have fought, said, how ridiculous he was being, or she didn't. When he spit in her face, she said, thank you for that gift from me. But now what are you going to give the children? And it blew his mind. He cracked, blew his mind. And after that, he gave bread to those kids every day for the rest of his life. So the question to you is, when's the last time, and it's good to think about this, when's the last time that you did something like that? You didn't run, you didn't fight, you stood your ground, and you acted in such a wise and loving way that it brought somebody to a whole different understanding. See, that's really what we're called to do, and it does take a lot more wisdom, and it does take a lot more love to act in that way, to change people. That is sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. Remember, turning the other cheek was, so if you wanted to slap somebody of a lower class, you'd slap them with your backhand. All right? The turning the other cheek is saying, slap me on this side. That is to say, use your open hand. In other words, treat me as an equal. That was mind-blowing. And that's the very point. He's not saying be a pacifist. He is not saying just take it. He's not saying just endure it. Okay? That is not what he's saying. He's saying act in a wise and loving way. And it's difficult. It's challenging, but it's our call. Now, back to the heart scan. Talk about words that really get to the point. From the fullness of the heart, the mouth speaks. I mean, really, hopefully we can go ahead and take a disposition of this understanding where we notice these good things that are coming out of our mouth. Thanksgiving. We could see it maybe in children, in anyone in our house, from ourselves. Thank God. There's this thankfulness, this thoughtfulness, and we recognize that speech. So it's when it happens, it's good. On the same lines, we can also notice, wow, there's a lot of complaining coming out here. There's a lot of, it's fine to critique, but it should be constructive. This was not constructive. It was not wise. It was not thoughtful. What's going on in my heart? What's the difficulty here? And it can really help us. So this is not, again, a shaming exercise, but it is an opportunity to see where we are in our walk and to thank God for that healthiness that is there, and also be able to be honest enough to recognize, wow. See, there's the key. Listen. Listen to yourself. With the kids, one of the ways that I try and help them to do that, we talk about St. Augustine and, the sound of sin. I want what I want, and I want it now. And again, they say, well, they're playing a video game, Mom, and Dad says, time to stop, and they say no, and they say, well, it's time to stop now. And they can almost hear the voice in their mind, I want what I want, and I want it now. Just because you want something doesn't mean that it's wrong, but it's teaching them to hear a voice and to distinguish it between sin and selfishness and those things that are good. We need that distinguish, so hopefully we're able to listen to ourselves, that we take that moment. So thanks to Liam, I have an opportunity to listen to myself, and it is painful. So I know exactly what you're doing. I go and I listen to my own homilies. Oh my gosh. All right, so I can walk with you on that. Difficult to really listen to yourself and to be able to accept that. Well, gee, this is where I'm at. Another example, I remember one of the times that my mother came, I think I shared this once before. She likes Frosted Flakes, pour a big bowl of Frosted Flakes. She goes, now, I don't know if you're a Frosted Flakes fan, but they are really, really frosted. They're really crunchy, all right? So Mom likes the milk to soak in a little bit, so she's got to tap the food, a few times, and they're really crunchy and they make a lot of sound. And so you can see me sitting there at the table, and she's like, and I swear it went on for like minutes. I'm sure it didn't. And I looked and I thought to myself, I have a choice, because if I could choke her. That's not a good thing. Or I could leave the room. And I got up and I left the room. So the next day she leaves, and I got a whole box full of Frosted Flakes. So I have a bowl of Frosted Flakes. And I'm looking at it and I start tapping, and I'm like, no, it still needs more. And then I was like, no. I'm doing the same thing. So a little different, but still. Swing it around. Somebody is annoying you, it's a nice time for self-reflection, but the gospel is clear. You really want to scan your heart. You want to know what's going on. You know if you're healthy or not. What's coming out of your mouth? It's going to be indicative of what's really going on in here.